In the glow of 100 chandeliers, a ballroom breathed with the polished elegance of wealth. Jazz music floated soft and low, brushing against velvet walls and spilling beneath the vaulted ceiling like a secret meant only for the privileged. Crystal glasses chimed gently in manicured hands. Laughter rippled through painted mouths, and every gesture was practiced. It's choreographed by lifetimes of privilege. Amid this carefully constructed perfection moved Leora, a girl in black uniform. No shimmer of silk or satin draping her, only the plain fabric of necessity. She carried a silver tray heavy with champagne flutes, each step deliberate, measured, her body trembling with the effort of staying invisible. Her dark hair clung damp against her neck. The collar of her dress stuck to her skin where sweat had already gathered. Her right hand twitched, small unconscious movement. She tugged the sleeve lower, hiding the faint crescent-shaped birthmark etched into her wrist. A mark she had spent years covering, as if the world might see it and remember, something she worked hard to forget. Her voice barely carried as she whispered to herself, "Asterisk, just make it through tonight." One night, asterisk bills didn't care for dreams, and debts didn't forgive weakness. So Lyra endured, but as she passed her final glass to a guest, her body betrayed her. An elbow brushed hers. The tray tilted. Glass met marble with a crystalline crash, champagne spreading like spilled sunlight across the polished floor. Heads turned, eyes sharp, cold, unforgiving fell on her. Her mouth opened to apologize, but no words came, only silence. The music halted, as if the world itself had skipped a beat. Then the blur came, dizzy, sharp, suffocating. Her knees buckled. She fell. The sound was soft, yet unmistakable. A body surrendering to exhaustion in the center of opulence. And in her collapse, the necklace at her throat, a silver moon pendant scratched and scuffed at the edge, slipped loose. It spun across the floor before settling at the feet of a man standing near the podium. Kalen Montclair. He had built an empire on cold precision. A man who once walked the streets with nothing but hunger, now a face that adorned business journals and gilded conference stages. Yet in that instant, none of that mattered. His eyes dropped to the pendant at his feet. He bent, picked it up, and his hand froze. The simple silver disc struck something deep, half-forgotten. Recognition. Memory. A child's face blurred by time, but tethered by one small act of kindness. He whispered, almost to himself, "This." Behind him, voices murmured. A server lifted Lyra from the ground. Someone muttered she must have fainted, but Kalen didn't move. He stood rooted, gripping the pendant as if it had been waiting for him all these years. Lyra awoke in a place that felt like a dream. Pale sunlight streamed through tall glass doors, painting streaks of gold across polished wood floors. She blinked, disoriented, surrounded by ivory walls and the faint lavender scent floating in the still air. The blanket on her skin was softer than anything she had ever owned. For a moment, she thought she had died and been given a heaven she didn't deserve. But heaven never made her uneasy. This did. She pulled the blanket closer, sat up slowly, then froze. A room too fine, too untouched, too safe to belong to her. Reflex guided her hand to her wrist. Tugging the sleeve down over the crescent mark, the door opened. Kalen stepped in. Not the polished billionaire the world saw on magazine covers, but a man in rolled-up sleeves, stripped of armor. His gaze met hers, not curious, not cold, but searching, as though he was remembering her, or perhaps confirming she was real. Lyra's back straightened, her voice sharp with quiet resistance. "I have to go. You're not hurt," Kalen said softly. "It's just fainted from exhaustion. I brought you back, and I don't need anyone's pity." She wrapped her arms around herself, as though holding together something fragile and long-splintered. Kalen didn't argue. He simply placed an envelope on the bedside table. "The hospital bill, if you need help." Her eyes lingered on it. Not in gratitude, not in temptation, but in battle. The war between her pride and her desperation. She said only, "I don't need anything." The words trembled like brittle glass. Silence stretched. She clutched her pendant and walked past him without another word. But when her sleeve slipped, exposing the faint crescent birthmark, Kalen saw, and something deep inside him knew. He didn't stop her, he only watched. Back at her boarding house, Lyra faced another loss. The landlady's voice carried no anger, only weary dismissal. "It's been 3 days. Lyra, I can't hold the room anymore. Homeless again." The city pressed cold against her bones. She sat on a concrete step, pulling her thin coat tight. From her pocket, she drew the envelope she had ignored. She tore it open, expecting only the sting of bills. Instead, she found a note. Simple, direct. "If you want real work, I always need someone like you. No name, only a phone number." Lyra tore it in half. "I don't need anyone," she whispered into the dusk, but her hands shook, betraying her. Rain fell soft. Not a storm, just a mist that clung relentless. She sat in it, hollow, no family to call, no friends to lean on. Her cousin had already turned her away with apologetic words. She curled on a park bench, clutching her knees, staring at the faint birthmark on her wrist as though it belonged to someone else. Then a shadow fell over her. A black umbrella cut the rain from her face. She lifted her head. Kalen stood there, silent, steady eyes, carrying the weight of recognition. His gaze dropped to her wrist, the crescent pale in the lamplight. His voice cracked, low and hoarse. "That birthmark, it's you." Lyra's breath caught. "You're the little girl who shared her bread with me under the bridge, aren't you?" The memory uncoiled. A girl of 8, her tangled hair damp, her coat threadbare, a boy hungry, shivering, eyes hollow. Half a piece of bread pressed into his hand, and the words, "The sun will rise tomorrow," 15 years ago. Now those same eyes looked at her from the face of a man the world called untouchable. Leora couldn't speak. She only stared, as the rain hushed around them, the city fading into silence. Recognition needed no proof. Back in Callan's penthouse, Leora sat on the couch, wet clothes clinging to her skin. He offered her a towel. She didn't take it. Instead, she wrapped her arms around herself, guarding her birthmark like a wound. But Kalen saw, and this time, he didn't look away. "I used to think," he said quietly, his voice carrying the weight of old winters, "that if I ever got the chance, I'd find the person who gave me a reason to keep going. Even if back then she was just a little girl." His eyes drifted, seeing another world. "I was 9. My mother was gone. My father vanished. I lived under that bridge, stealing scraps, begging for coins. No one stopped, no one looked, until you." Lara's hand rose to her pendant, brushing the cold metal. "You gave me half your bread," Kalen said. "And you told me the sun would rise tomorrow, then you left. But when you walked away, you dropped this." He gestured to the silver moon pendant at her neck. "I picked it up. I kept it for years. When I entered the shelter, I handed it in. But I never forgot you, or your words." Lyra's voice trembled. "This necklace, right. It was my mother's. I thought I'd lost it forever." Callan nodded. "That's how I knew it was you." The silence that followed wasn't hollow anymore. It was full bridging years, hunger, loss, survival, 2 lives tethered by a single act of kindness. Lyra's defenses cracked, her voice fragile. "And you made it through because of what I said?" Kalen smiled, sorrowful, but warm. "No, I made it through because you said it." Time didn't heal Lyra instantly. Trust came slow, cautious, but a seed had been planted. Days later, she stood before the Revive Foundation, a project Kalen had long dreamt of, an answer to the emptiness left by his empire. She carried with her a design, not a resume, not a plea, but her art, her offering. When she entered his office, she laid it on the desk. A logo, a crescent moon nested within an open circle, not closed, not sealed. Reaching outward, "Your foundation needs an emblem," she said. "If you're still looking for a designer, this is me." Kalen studied it. His eyes softened. "It looks a lot like your pendant, because it's inspired by it," Lyra said. "By something that never fully closed, and maybe doesn't need to." He said nothing more, only nodded. placing it carefully on his desk. And in that silence, she wasn't a guest anymore. She wasn't debt. She wasn't charity. She was a collaborator. Months later, a crowd filled the grand hall of the cultural center. Porters, sponsors, faces of the elite gathered to hear Callan Montclair speak. Cameras flashed as he stepped forward, not with the arrogance of a mogul, but with the calm of a man who had finally chosen his path. "Today," said Voice Steady, "I stepped down from my role at Montclair Biomed." Gasps rippled. Whispers cut sharp, yet Callan's tone didn't falter. "I'm not retiring. I'm continuing something different. Something I postponed for too long. The Revive Foundation. Healing through kindness." Behind him, a curtain lifted to reveal the foundation's name and Lara's logo. The crescent moon and the open circle glowed above the stage, off to the side. Lyra stood quietly, not dressed for attention, but for belonging, a notebook in hand. Watching, steady. When Callan stepped down from the stage, he didn't linger for the press. He walked to her. In the chaos of voices and cameras, a small space of silence formed between them. "Are you sure?" she whispered, giving all this up for a promise made years ago. Callan shook his head gently. "No, I'm not giving it up. I'm continuing it. But this time, with the only person who never asked anything from me." The camera caught the moment. No embrace, no kiss. Just two people standing close, tethered by something invisible yet undeniable. Some said he gave up everything for a poor girl. Others said it was about honoring kindness itself. But only Lyra and Callan knew the truth. They weren't lovers. Not yet. They were simply two human beings, once broken, now healing together. Sometimes that's enough to begin. Do you believe a small act of kindness can change a life? If this story touched you, like the video and subscribe to our channel, because kindness never disappears. It waits quietly for the right moment to return.